Take a look around and find somebody to War Eagle. It's showtime.
Holy cow! Oh my God!
Hello and War Eagle Auburn family. Welcome to the Auburn Stuff vid channel and the What Did We Learn segment, Georgia State edition, or perhaps more like, what the fuck was that? With the emoji. Lord have mercy, for real though. I got a text from a friend after the game that said, holy shit, well done Auburn, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. To which I responded, just another day in the life of Auburn football viewing. We all live 10 years less than everyone else because of this shit. It really never gets boring, though. I mean, what now? Any ideas? That was kind of weird. So what now? We all just get up and go to church and pretend like that was normal? Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Amen. So how about that big win yesterday, huh? Right? Y'all, this wasn't just another averted disappointment. This would have been the thing that never goes away. They, and by they I mean, well, pretty much everyone, would have talked about this loss to Georgia State forever. Forever. Do you think Tennessee is ever going to live that one down? No. This was disaster aversion to the nth degree. And as you certainly have, I've spent the last 18 hours or so trying to make sense of the chaos from yesterday afternoon and the implications moving forward. I've done a good bit of reading, listening, watching content, trying to write down my own thoughts, and just trying to absorb the various outlets, media creators, to get it sort of a feel for everyone's headspace. And here are a few things that I think I've learned. First of all, the Georgia State head coach. What's up with that dude? Seems to be a bit of a douche, right? Kind of an all-around asshole with a severe attitude problem, it would appear. His reaction to when he yanked his player off the field yesterday. Now, I've seen that before, mostly on high school fields. But typically when a coach has a high motor player who kind of has an attitude problem, maybe has some daddy issues, that guy will be the one that gets yanked off the field. And if you also could read the coach's lips when he was yelling at that player on the sidelines, it was basically, get the fuck off the field. And I think the way he was yelling at him, it looked like he was trying to get him off the sidelines and away into the locker room and gone, like he had just had it up to here with that dude. And as it turns out, he didn't get the penalty that was thrown on that play for a personal foul, because he came in late and cleaned up some stuff that was some messiness that was going on with between an Auburn player and a Georgia State player on a kickoff, I think, or a kickoff or a punt return. I think it was a kickoff. But anyway, and he just kind of came in and did a little chippiness, and the coach lost his mind. And it was just a bad look, dude. I'm not irritated by your passion for decency on the field, but that was just a bad look, and your reaction, and then your big quick about face. I mean, shit, at least you owned it with the kid. And so now he probably hates you more. He has no respect for you and doesn't know where you're coming from. So hopefully you'll have a sit down with that young man and y'all can figure things out. But it wasn't just that. I mean, I haven't read anything direct because I didn't want to be so irritated by this, but reading other people's reports on some things that he said, like throwing the Vanderbilt fans and program under the bus. What was the point of that? And, I guess he was asked about the crowd at Auburn, and he's like, it's a crowd. People cheer unless you're at Vandy. What was that? That seemed like just assholery for no good reason. And it wasn't even funny. So I don't get that. And I have no idea what this is about, but I read that he said something. He had some smart-ass comment about the eagle flight. And I'm quite sure if you dig into this guy's history, which I'm not interested in the least, that this is pretty consistent behavior with him. So, hey, you, go ahead and fuck all the way off. And good luck at Georgia State. What else did we learn? Jacoby McLean appears to be the absolute holy guts and heart and soul of this defense, which is awesome on the one hand because you need that guy. But when he's missing, they seem to fall apart. They seem to utterly disintegrate. Now, there was a lot of dudes played, and Owen Papo was missing as well. And I'm very, very glad that Jacoby is that kind of player. But if he gets injured, God forbid, again, or any other stupid thing happens that he has to miss some time, is that going to be the result? The first half of that game, is that going to be the result where our defense gave up something like like 150 yards ish, something in that neighborhood, rushing for the entire season thus far, until Georgia State came along into our stadium and got I forget, they got more than that, I think, and they got 300 yards of offense in the first half. Now they got 84, I think the number was. It was like 299 total offense in the first half and 84, 86, something like that in the second half when Jacoby came back in. Holy cow. So we should all pray for Jacoby's safe passage to everywhere, and maybe we just wrap him in bubble wrap for the rest of the year. What else? Jarquez Hunter, in case you didn't know it, by this point, is a grown-ass man. The run, now it seemed like Tank was the offensive line play vis-a-vis run blocking that suspect yesterday, or is Tank nicked up? Is something going on? Just look, there's a 50 million shades of gray. You never know what the hell's going on with somebody. He could be having I don't know, a relative could have passed away or something. He could have a hangnail on his toe, big toe. Who knows what it is? Maybe he's chipped up, nicked up, banged up. Maybe he's having a bad day. We all have bad days, especially when you're 19 or 20 years old. So I don't know, but Jarquez seemed to be running better than Tank behind the same offensive line, and more to the point, that run on that drive, the first play of the 98-yard winning touchdown drive, for a true freshman with a redshirt freshman quarterback, for the two of those guys, but let's stick with Jarquez, for a true freshman to come in that situation, standing in your own end zone, looking the entire length of the field at infamy, at losing to Georgia State, and to crack off that run. What did he got out to the 20-ish, somewhere, something like that. The number's not that important. He removed our backsides from the shadow of the goalpost, as they like to say, in the biggest moment possibly imaginable. And Jarquez has shown all year, when given the opportunity, when given the ball, that he belongs here. He belongs in the SEC. So keep feeding that guy everything he needs to be fed, not only to keep Tank rested and healthy, and to keep that running back rotation fluid and balanced and not overworked, but also feed him because he's a grown-ass man at 18 or however old he is, running that football against anyone. So we learned that. Kind of approaching the crux of the matter at hand is Brian Harsin has stones. We learned that. The biggest question / thought item bandied about for the past, I don't know, about 20 hours has been what God, I don't even want to bring him up. What would Gus have done? Would Gus have pulled Bo? Look back on the Florida game last year. Or 2 years ago. That's the quintessential example of that. Where if you're going to pull a guy, especially a true freshman, on the road in that crazy-ass environment, maybe just sit him for a few series to let him take his breath or whatever. But, dude, he looked like a total deer in the headlights in that Florida game 2 years ago. So, would the last guy have made this move? And the answer is absolutely 100% unequivocally, unquestionably no. Not no, but fuck no. He would not have ever made that move. And more to the point, he probably couldn't have made that move because, first of all, TJ Finley wouldn't have been here. TJ Finley would have never come here under the last guy. And to get even further on a granular level is not only would TJ Finley not have been here, but we wouldn't really have had anybody. I mean, I guess Demetrius Davis would have kept his commitment and signed with Auburn and would have been on the bench somewhere, but you never, ever would have seen Davis put in that game. So we would have just rode Bo and that offense. Let's not lay this all on Bo, but we'll get to that. So we would have just ridden Bo into infamy, into a loss against Georgia State, from which our reputation would have, I don't know if never recovered is a little bit too strong, but the stain on our reputation would have been difficult to cleanse, if you will. So the Stones finally, and that's what everybody's saying is finally, we have a head coach that'll say, you know what? You're not doing it. Get out. You over there, get in. And kind of extrapolating that out, it seemed like that was kind of the theme starting with about 3 minutes or so left in the third quarter, which is, all right, none of you motherfuckers want to make a play? Get out. Everybody else, you get in. And you saw a bunch of different guys go in there. It wasn't a smooth start. You can attribute that to everybody trying to adjust to this new little mini paradigm that happened late in the third quarter and figuring out what they needed to do. You could attribute it to, I don't know, call it rust or lack of reps or whatever on TJ's part, who hasn't played very much this year and obviously hasn't practiced with the ones. So you can attribute that early start to a few different things. But the bottom line is when they had their asses backed up to their own goal line, they drove 98 yards for the winning touchdown. The Schenker catch, non-catch aside, look, dude, you saw in that game against Penn State that shit like that happens, and it happens to everybody, and it happens all the time. It wasn't ruled an incompletion and then that they had to overturn the call to get to completion. We didn't have that. It was ruled a catch on the field, and as we have all seen, it takes about an act of God to overturn a call on the field, and it's supposed to be irrefutable evidence, and we don't know what that official's looking at in that little monitor. I wish we knew what they were looking at in that monitor. But anyway, so they drove the length of the field, and when TJ was running around on that fourth down, that last play, and when he rolled left and bumped into that guy and then went a little bit backwards and bumped into that guy, I'm like, this is over. He's going down. He can't move. He can't get out of this. But he shed and he scrambled and his eyes are up. He's 6'7", so he can see the field, and he saw the play and made the play. So Brian Harsin, and so we'll get to TJ later. I kind of got on a little tangent there. Brian Harsin, and by extension the rest of the coaching staff, it would appear, had the stones to say, starting entrenched quarterback that I inherited, who's a legacy and we've pushed all our chips in with, seemingly, you need to sit down because we're about to lose this game and we're about to be embarrassed forever. You, second guy, You came here because you said you could do this job. Go get in there and do it. And he did it. It took a minute to get there, but he did it. You gotta peel back the onion and look at all of the layers and figure out the micro grains of the steps of how he got there. And he got there. So Harsin, the big relief, the hallelujah, the aha moment, the how is this going to be different than that kind of thing is that this move never would have happened in the past. Ever. So thank you, Brian Harsin, and your DNA for the stones that you carry in your trousers. Secondly, kind of on the coaches, both coordinators need to get lit up, okay? They need to have a come to Jesus meeting in the coach's office, in the space with no one else around, and say, look, you guys are not living up to your jobs, okay? You're not doing what you need to be doing here. Figure out what the talent can do and organize your game plan around it. It would seem, Zacoby McClain's return notwithstanding, that the defense, that Mason made adjustments on the defense that were effective because they didn't score. Georgia State didn't score in the second half, and what they gave up something like 70% fewer total yards in the second half than the first. So apparently, like I said, Zacoby aside, there was an adjustment made there, and they did play a little bit more man and bring a little bit more pressure. Will that translate to the next game and so forth throughout the season? I don't know. We'll have to see. But both coordinators need to be lit up. And tangentially, Mike Bobo, I'm not a big fan of the game plan. It clearly wasn't fitting Bo and the talent that was on the field, but more so, it still looks, with the exception of a few throws to the tight end and a few check downs and a little bit of a different look, fewer bubble screens. Fewer bubble screens and sort of a different arrangement of plays. It still looked way too similar to what we've been dealing with the last few years, and that's too many four wides and too many verticals with not enough guys getting open. And obviously, Bo has issues reading the field. So why didn't you adjust to that? Will we see the same game plan style with TJ Finley? I don't know. Maybe it'll suit his style better, but I still don't like so many vertical routes. So yeah, both coordinators, light them up, tune them up, and let's adjust going forward because, well, I hate to say it gets real because it would have been really ugly real yesterday had we walked away with the L. So now we come to Bo. If you have been with me for any length of time over the last 2.5 years, you know that I've been an ardent supporter of Bo Nix as the starting quarterback for the Auburn Tigers, given the set of circumstances that we were given. I've said many times I was at that A-Day when, what was that, 19? When Bo and Joey were battling it out. And if you were there in the stadium that day for that A-Day, and I know it's A-Day, I get it. They're not playing Bama or Georgia. I understand. But still, mechanics, throws, things like that, vision, things like that you're looking for that translate regardless of what's opposing you. Bo was clearly the better quarterback on the field that day. And if you don't believe me, for God's sakes, Joey Gatewood is on his third team. And back to the coach who wouldn't play him in the first place. Go make sense of that. And subtext, the little kind of, I guess, half joke with Bo is that now he's going to transfer to UCF. Really? The guy that absolutely ruined his career, that made him the quarterback that he is today, he's going to go play for that guy? I don't know, maybe there's something to be said for the comfort factor. But anyway, so I have been a supporter of Bo. I have not been a blind supporter of Bo. I've supported Bo as a starting quarterback because he was the best guy for the job in the situation that we had. Okay? And you got to stick with that guy. Never have I said anything about him being a flawless player or an exceptional elite quarterback. He was our quarterback, and he should have been. And now, given the circumstances of the offseason and the additions to the roster, it is clear that there is a quarterback who is at least equal and probably better at doing the things that need to be done in this offense. So, Bo got pulled, and that hurts. I would venture to say that given his family, his upbringing, his character, what we know of it, you don't know anybody. You don't know everything that's going on there, but what we know of him, he should be able to do what mentally and emotionally healthy and mature people do in times of trial, which is to learn and to get better, because you can't improve in a vacuum. And if he were allowed to sit out, to be out on that field and lose to Georgia State and then go back to LSU, and then all of a sudden things are looking really strange with this team, then what does he learn from that? Nothing. He probably gets beat down even further. So he can either allow himself to get beat down by this mentally and emotionally. He's going to have some downtime. There's nothing, none of us know what it's like to do our jobs in front of millions of people. 88,000 in the stadium and millions watching on TV. And then while we're doing that job, to not only fail at it, but to also have the job taken away from us in front of millions of eyes. None of us knows what that's like. So he's bound to have some downtime up here and in here. But I think that he's probably strong enough to deal with this and go forward and be the right kind of teammate that he needs to be. Whether he starts next week against LSU and further down the road or not. I hope so for his sake. If not, then we all just need to move on. All right? The bench is thin in the quarterback position. That will pull, if anything is amiss with Bo, then that pulls Demetrius Davis back from whatever quasi redshirt purgatory in which he's resided. So, boy, I think we can all agree that we don't want to see Grant Loy, right? As the number 2. That's horrifying. And I don't even want to contemplate that. So, Bo's transition to number 2, should that happen. That'll be an interesting thing to see that maybe will come up on a future episode of What Did We Learn? And so we will finally move on to Mr. Finley. TJ, he of the instant legend status. Backed up with his ass hovering over his own goal line. Leads the team out of the worst kind of fire possibly imaginable and pulls off the heroics. Scrambling, all of it. Completing a pass while being basically parallel to the ground. Could not believe they didn't call him down there, and they didn't review it, but it was great. It was a good call, and what a hell of a thing. And the scrambling around, the throws that he made, the field vision that he had to make that 4th and 9 play from the 11-yard line to escape that pressure, boom, like a pinball, escape that pressure. And we all thought that he couldn't run, and he doesn't have the legs that Bo has, but he clearly has some escapability. He can see the field, because when you're this much taller Can you see my hand? When you're that much taller than everyone else on the field, that must contribute to your ability to see the field. So the man clearly has some escapability. He's never has what we would call wheels, but wheels are not necessarily escapability. It's kind of like that he's fast and he's football fast thing. Yeah, that's great if you can run a 100-yard dash or 100-meter dash on an asphalt track with spikes or whatever. But when you're fast in pads on grass, when people are hanging all over you, that's different. So TJ clearly has some escapability and field vision and looks in the places for receivers that Bo seemed to never want to look. So, TJ Finley, are you the starting quarterback against LSU for the Auburn Tigers? Did we learn that? No, we did not learn that, because this is going to be a thing, man. This is going to be a thing. I would say maybe it's a 51% chance that happens, maybe greater. It's all going to come down to what's actually probably going on in that practice facility, in that football facility right now as I record at 3:12 Eastern Time, 2:12 Central on Sunday, September 26th. It's going to start there in the conversations that the coaches and the players have, Bo's reaction, TJ's reaction, how everybody deals with this. But what is clear is that the decision needs to be made immediately, because that guy needs to get the first team reps, especially if it's TJ Finley. What's it going to be like for TJ going back to Baton Rouge to play in that stadium? I don't know, man. Those people are insane, nasty, drunken, disgusting, sub-cretinous yahoos. But I heard a week or so ago that apparently they have a vaccine mandate to get into the stadium. You got to show your paper. You must have papers to get into stadium. Maybe they'll make him wear a Star of David too, but that's a whole other thing. Don't worry about it. This too shall pass, right? Anyway, apparently you got to have a vaccine, proof of vaccine to get into that stadium. So do you think that, I don't know, what would you put the vaccination rate in the state of Louisiana at? 25%? So is that stadium going to be 25% full? Don't know. It is what it is, and we'll see what happens there. So we learned that the Georgia State head coach is a real piece of work. Zacoby is the key to the defense. Jarquez is a grown-ass man. Brian Harsin has huevos, large stones. Thank you for making that call. We learned that these coordinators need to be lit up and tuned, okay? We learned, I think, finally, that after 2 years plus 2.8 games, that Bo is not seeing the field as a quarterback of his experience should be seeing the field and making the decisions that he needs to make. It's just not happening, and it doesn't appear that it's going to happen. I blame it on the first 2 years of his coaching, but at this point, it's neither here nor there. And we learned that TJ Finley, when the lights are on and he's called in cold into a game situation, that he has the stuff that you would want your starting quarterback to have, and saved us from perhaps the most horrifying loss in the history of our program, or at least since, I don't know, World War I, because who knows what went on back there. So that has been episode 001 of Auburn Stuff. What did we learn? The Georgia State edition. And I would like to thank you for your time. Thank you for a little bit of your precious time. As always, please, you know what the telemetry and the algorithms do. Give a like and subscribe if you're into it. Hopefully I'll be doing this. I don't know. Hopefully, maybe you don't think that. But I should be doing this on Sundays if I can after each game to figure out what the heck just happened. You can also look for the Auburn Stuff podcast, the audio podcast, wherever you consume such media. And as always and forever, War Eagle, everyone, and I'll see you down the road.